Hey y'all, it's Blue Moon Oracle, and today's full moon in Scorpio is truly affecting me. I am feeling all kinds of anxiety. I'm feeling sadness. I mentioned in a post earlier that I'm having feelings of like imposter syndrome and self-limiting beliefs, and attachment issues have been coming up for me from abuse from early childhood by my caretakers, abuse and neglect. And I'm really uncomfortable. Now, you can't tell, because one of the things I learned to master in my home of origin, where you're not allowed to have feelings, is how to keep them to myself. So actually on the inside, I'm feeling a whirling tornado of anxiety. And I was about to get into doing some of my healing stuff, and I realized, you could probably benefit from some of these tips. Now, the first thing I want to say is that we all have an innate ability to heal ourselves. It doesn't mean you're called to be a healer, and you might be though also. Once you activate this stuff in you, you may realize that this is something you are called to do, kind of like what happened with me. Also, I was taught to heal by spirit guides, Diodata, and some angels and beings. I don't know what else to call them. And so the things that I work on are geared towards people with complex trauma from childhood. Not that they wouldn't be able to help anyone else, but that's where I'm coming from. Is I've had trauma since infancy throughout the developmental stages of my life. And so that kind of trauma that happens early on has to do with us during the times that we are being developed, our personalities, our persona, our ego. For people like me, there is no before the trauma to go to, because the trauma was the before. Okay, so the things that I'll share with you are things that are geared towards helping, number one, releasing oppressed emotions. We don't know how to feel our emotions and how to release them. We weren't allowed to. Okay? And then also with remapping neural pathways, because these responses are ingrained. We survived. I'm 44 years old this summer, and for about 25 years straight, I lived in survival mode, like had to. I've had some, abusive relationships since then, and been in some situations where, I had to, but not to the degree that I did like in my childhood. And then as a young adult, my first marriage. So, those responses are ingrained and need to be like remapped. Secondly, I'd like to add that I've been in therapy for 12 years consistently, but I've been in some form of treatment since I was about 14 years old, when the state intervened and took us from our family because of the abuse. I have been sober for 10 years on May 6th, so I do 12-step program work, and I take psychiatric medication for some of these issues as well, to help manage the symptoms of complex PTSD. I'm on less medication today than I was, when I started this journey, the energetic pieces, and I've done all of this with cooperation from my medical team and from my doctors. They are healers too. They heal different aspects of the human body. I work with energy and the physical body, and releasing trauma from the physical body. Okay, so that being said, my anxiety is building. If I don't, I'm going to share with you, I don't necessarily do this anymore because I've been healing for a while now, but because this may be some of your first time attempting to do this for yourself, or this may be the first time you've approached it from this direction, I'm going to share with you with the first things that happened to me. So one of the first things that came to me, and this happened when I saw the Kabbalistic tree of life for the first time in Hebrew. It triggered something in me, and I started tapping the chest, the Thymus Chakra. And I'm tapping with a little bit of pressure. I don't know if you can hear the thudding. Now, it shouldn't hurt, okay? But you should be able to feel it. Some of us maybe have more repressed things. And I've noticed in some of the healing that I've done, for folks that maybe haven't done therapy or haven't dealt with these really repressed issues, for those who have really repressed stuff and haven't gotten to this place in their recovery, they may feel nothing when this happens, and that's okay, because part of the process is going to be coming back into the body. We do a lot of dissociating when we have a lot of trauma. So if you don't feel some of the things that I'm talking about, it's not failing, okay? You just got to keep doing it, and then you're going to connect. And I've seen this happen with clients, with people that I've worked with. So don't feel like, oh, it can't work for me, or I'm not feeling anything, this is a crock of shit, because it does work. It just may take a little more time, okay? So you're going to keep tapping on the chest, and you'll know that it's you'll know that you're, when you'll know that you've connected with the self and with this activation, the activation is complete, I should say, when you feel tinglies, feel goods, I don't know what to call them. Okay. And then I'm going to tap the shoulders. Got wisdom and understanding. Mother goddess, Father God. I still struggle with that one. Ironically, though, most of my trauma is on the left, the female side, feminine side. All right, and you're going to feel, sometimes the spot you need to tap is going to be in a different place, but you'll feel tinglies. I feel this rush of energy in my heart chakra. All right, I'll tap there for a while. Trust your hands. Trust what your hands want to do. Remember, no one taught me. Diodata taught me things, and the angels have taught me things. But when this happened to me, it was a remembrance that happened and a knowing on what to do. And a lot of my healing, I'd say 2/3 of the healing that I do is simply knowing, because it is in our DNA to heal the subtle energy. Okay. But a lot of us are not connected to that part of us, but that's okay. That's totally okay. That's what we're going to do right now. All right. We're going to keep tapping the shoulders, and then you're going to tap on the head. You're going to tap on the top first, back and forth on the top, in the middle, in the back. Spend time here, especially if you have panic attacks. This is, what the fight or flight is, and then come back to the frontal lobe and tap there. Then I tap around the head. And look, how I tap around the head for myself and when I work with clients, when we do this, is different. Okay, so I'm following my hands and I'm releasing anxiety right now. I can feel it. Like, it's making the anxiety kind of worse, which is what I want to happen. And, I have to say things like, I am safe. It's safe to release these feelings. And then I feel sometimes like I need to go back down the neck and into the shoulders and on the spine in the neck, up and down the spine right here. I definitely feel like I need to do that. Whew, that was a lot. Okay. And trust your hands. Tap chest, shoulders, head. Okay. And you may feel compelled to tap the face, down the jaw. Oh, this is a good tender spot right here. Where you find a tenderness, where it's sore, keep tapping there. Keep tapping there. Keep tapping there. Okay. Pay attention to that. Okay. Yep. I got some soreness here. Uncomfortableness coming down the throat and across the collarbone, back to the shoulders. Okay. You get where I'm going with this. Trust your hands. Keep tapping. And when I don't know what to do, or I'm stuck, because sometimes this stuff can block the, downloads. This is for a download of information. So I do this every day anyway. I do tapping every day. It's on my list every day to tap. Okay. I'm trying to explain it in the way that was explained to me, but when we have the kind of complex trauma that I did as a child during the developmental stages of life, and then some severe, trauma, I'm talking about complex trauma where you have been trapped. The abuse is chronic and there is no escape. This can happen as an adult or teenager. But for me, mine started, again, when I was actually trapped as a child. So it's like prisoners of war, kidnapping victims, sex trafficking victims, where your parents or caretakers are your abusers. And then I believe that there's a diagnosis that's complex PTSD for people who are in long-term abusive marriages for a very long time, okay? The neural pathways. I think I talked about that earlier because I had to take a break because I got interrupted by my kid. Okay. So then, since I don't do the tapping every time, and then this is where I do my breathing to kind of center myself. And the first thing I do is connect with self. And I do that by taking a couple of belly breaths. And I think about one thing that I keep in mind when I'm teaching people to meditate or to center is when you're sitting in whatever position is comfortable for you. Okay. For me, it's cross-legged. That may not be comfortable for you. Is to think about your ears, your shoulders, and your hips kind of being aligned. And you'll find that we normally lean forward. It kind of makes us go back. And then when you breathe in, you're going to fill that belly up. And that's going to help you with your posture too. Filling up the belly all the way up in that breath. And that's actually going to align the chakras as you come up. And then exhaling, you pull that belly button into the spine. And I do those a couple of times. And if I'm having a hard time kind of getting, I do what I call zipping up my chakras. And I go down to the root chakra and I pull up like this all the way up. And it does something to align me. Okay. It's just an energy thing that I do. There's probably terms for these things. Again, I don't know. I was told by Diodata not to go to energy healing school. Okay, anxiety. So breathing. And so
When I do a couple breaths, if I'm having a hard time connecting with self, which I'm not right now, I feel connected to self, I think about my third eye opening up right here, and then an anchor coming out, connected to a string or a rope, whatever, and then this opening up here, and this anchor dropping in and hooking. And so on the inhale, this opens up and comes down, and on the exhale, it latches on. And sometimes if I'm struggling, I'll say, where's Deborah? This is something Diodata taught me actually one time. It's called the anchoring to yourself. And, for those of us with complex trauma, with multiple inner children or ego fragmentation, some of us with DID, this is something that kind of helps, that the parts will run and not want to participate. So if you do inner family work, if you do reparenting, if you do understand that, the one that you work with, bring that one into the center, okay? And you may not be able to, they may not be willing to come right now. That may take some additional energy work. I can help you with that. Keep going though, okay? Keep with the tapping. The tapping is a DNA activation and it will work even if you don't feel the woo-woos, okay? Again, so now I'm connected with self. And I'm feeling where my body, I'm scanning my body, and, I feel the anxiety around here, which is normal. When I was being taught to heal, I was told that trauma is stored under the rib cage, and that needs to be released. And I was struggling one time with all these really exhausting poses that were causing painful things to happen. And there's got to be an easier way to get this out. And so I felt compelled to Google trauma under the rib cage, and that's where I discovered the Psoas Muscle, Psoas, and that runs through the thoracic, under the rib cage of the diaphragm. It goes down into the hips and the pelvis. And that is where trauma responses are stored. And then I learned about the vagal nerve or the vagus nerve. I've heard it called both, not actually which one, I don't know what to call it. That is also where some trauma responses are stored too. And we have nerve bundles from that are in the solar plexus, that are in the root chakra, which is why, for me, if I'm being gaslit or I'm dealing with narc abuse, I get upset stomach. That's a vagus nerve response of trauma. Okay, so I can feel right now that the energy is here. So the first thing I'm going to do is tap. And this is probably for anyone who has anxiety, is I'm going to tap down the sides, and I feel some tenderness along the sides here, and where I feel the tenderness, I'm going to keep tapping. And when I say tapping, I'm using my hands like this. Some of you may be familiar with some of this kind of work. I believe it's if I'm not mistaken, there's some Tai Chi aspects to this kind of thing. Okay, so Tai Chi, unlike Qigong and whatnot, that's working with energy. It's the same thing. So there's some real tenderness right here on both sides. And it's releasing some anxiety. I'm feeling it. And it hurts. So I may massage it or rub it. So, but some of the stuff that I deal with, I have to get it out of the physical body before I can take it out of the energetic body. It's got to be released from both. There is no shortcuts to some of this stuff, okay? This is a shortcut, so to speak, because had I found energy work 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, I'd be in a lot better place today. But cutting cords, no, pull cords. But we also got to heal the place in us that created the holes for those cords to attach from other people. But right now what we're dealing with is our own stuff from where the root came from. That's what I deal with. The cords from your narc relationships, those will leave once we deal with what put the hole there in the first place, okay? So I feel like a lot of anxiety. This is the Thymus Chakra. This is where we were tapping. And in the Thymus Chakra, there is trauma stored there from this life, past lives, ancestral. The lymph nodes are attached. All that's got to go. I do dry brushing on a regular basis. That helps. Hot, cold showers help. The lymphatic system doesn't want to drain and it's old. And probably with the tapping, that's exactly what I was doing too, is bringing the stuff down. Well, I'm feeling lots of anxiety. So this is what I would normally be like. I am safe. It's 2021. I'm in my own home. My abusers cannot cause me any harm. I am 43 years old. And I have to kind of literally ground myself because it does release some serious stuff, okay? And so some of the stretches that I do in dealing with the trauma is, I'll come up in an in-breath above my head, and I clasp my hands, and I pull up. And, I listen to my body. And I'm feeling this time, left. I'm stretching this out. I'm trying to keep my chest up and stretching that shoulder up really. And then I'll have to grab my wrist and I'm going to pull. And breathe as I release. stretching that, and then I have to stop because I just feel a rush of energy release. So I do want to say this, that I've done this round a couple of times because I've tried to record this video twice. And so I'm feeling it on this side. So again, I'm going to come in with an in-breath. I'm going to clasp my hands first, pull up in the center, keeping my ears between here. Again, your form will improve as you go. It's not really form. It's about getting, I'm just got to keep it straight right now. I'm feeling anxiety come up my both sides. I'm kind of pushing my arms back a little bit to release some of that from the shoulders. The shoulders is where verbal abuse is, okay? And you may not have been verbally abused. It could have been implied or something you picked up. Your mother or father could have had issues with self-worth, and you simply pick that up and internalize that, but it's going to be stored in the shoulders. And, I've had someone tell me, well, yeah, I tore my rotator cuff in that shoulder. Okay, well, that shoulder was weak for a reason, because when we take the weight of words or beliefs and thoughts of other people, we come down, we shoulder, okay? For me, I've got some serious pain with no injuries in my left shoulder. That's maternal. Left is maternal, right is paternal, or masculine and feminine. And I feel like I need to kind of move my spine. That's vagal nerve stimulation, psoas muscle in that thoracic area. And twisting a little bit to release, keeping my hips straight. And I'll reach up, breathing, then come down, breathing, keeping that chest up, keeping my hips straight, my belly button pulled to my spine. I'm going to reach up again, and I'm going to stretch to the right. And even though I'm pulling the right, it's literally affecting my left, where I have that trauma stored from my mother. My mother was violent with me as an infant. And as I've dealt with these issues from my mom, physical pain that has been tormenting me has left my body. So as memories have come up, the physical pain associated with them has left. Right now I'm releasing anxiety. So one of the things I've learned, I had a goddess come to me the other day advising me I needed to pick back up my study of the Kabbalistic tree of life with regards to healing and tapping. Wisdom and understanding, Bina and Chokmah, so it's a masculine and feminine, representing mother and father God, are the shoulders. Divine knowledge is right here, the sternum, okay? Right here. Solar plexus. I tap there too. Sometimes I'm feeling this issues there. And then I use the tarot to heal. So I'm using kind of them both, especially when I need to identify where I need to release things from, because I don't always, know. There's cognitive dissonance, there's self-deception, there's the parts of shadow that are blocking me because they don't want this pain to be released. They're trying to protect me. And so there's not a cooperation in some of these situations. Now, I try to get cooperation from my parts, but they don't always cooperate. And so if you need help learning how to internally dialogue, I can help you with that too. Shoot me a DM, we can set up an appointment for learning how to connect internally. But you can also look up reparenting the inner child, spiritual reparenting, inner family system work, okay, to learn how to do that as well. I do have the ability to communicate with the inner child, shadow, whatever you want to call it, when there's been a repressed trauma from early childhood. Okay, so the issue that I'm dealing with is the 8 of Swords, and that is the left hip. So last night I had done some yoga poses or just stretches. I let my body tell me what to do. They're not actually all yoga poses that I do, because it's your body will tell you. And that's what this tapping is going to do, is activate your DNA to remember how to heal itself and how to bring you back into your body. So I'm feeling something in my right hip right now, which has to do with my dad. But anyway, so after I've done the tapping and the stretching, one of the things I'll do is clasp my hands behind my back, trying to keep the meat of my hands together, and then pulling straight down. Okay, again, releasing from the shoulders, because I'm dealing with self-limiting beliefs. And this is about what someone has told me about who I am, whether indirectly or directly. And it's affected the way that it's affected me and how I'm able to move forward because of these self-limiting beliefs. They came from somewhere. They didn't start and initiate with self. They were put in me by someone else. So I need to release them. And they're stuck here. So grabbing the hands behind my back and then pulling straight down. And then keeping this chin up a little bit. Again, trying to keep that, belly pulled to the spine and breathing through this release. Opening up the shoulders and then pulling them down. Sometimes I have to pull, individually on the sides, and then sometimes just down. And then what I normally do, which I can't do right here now, is I get up and I'm in a forward fold. And I let my arms come up to release in a forward fold. Standing forward fold. And then I'll release my arms and I'll hang in a forward fold for a while. It's super good to release. And then I'll get into kind of more some of that in some other videos. This was just today to show you kind of how I'm releasing trauma from under the ribcage, or as I found out later, it's called the Psoas Muscle, to help alleviate some of this anxiety and help release these things. Because one of the things that's common for those of us with complex trauma is really understanding and identifying what it is we're actually feeling. The feelings that we know are fear, anxiety, and then someone who relieves that anxiety, right? Maybe we might recognize some sadness, but it's really hard to connect with those feelings and then think and work through them, because the fear comes to say, no, we're not letting that come up. So this tapping and these moves are going to help with that. I recommend you be in therapy if you have a lot of trauma. And I realize not everyone has a privilege of insurance or being able to afford therapy, even if you have insurance. So look into some 12-step groups. Adult Children of Alcoholics is a fantastic group for childhood trauma. You don't have to have addict alcoholic parents. You simply have to come from a toxic family environment. And then for those who had sexual trauma, trigger warning, I should have said that before, sorry. There is SIA, and I'm going to leave it at that. You can look up SIA. It's a great program I learned a lot about my inner child work and connecting with the self. And then another good book to read is Complex PTSD, From Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. The book triggers me. I can only take a little bit of time. I have to put it down. But again, that trigger is my shadow going, no, we're not doing this. But remember that shadow is there to help. That's why it was created in the first place, was to help you be accepted, be loved, not get the shit beat out of you, whatever that was. But those coping skills are no longer serving us. And so our shadow is not our enemy. We don't get rid of the shadow, okay? We embrace the shadow. We draw it into us, because then when we bring it into us, we realize, wow, this is my wounded inner child. This is my wounded self. And so one of the last things I'll show you that I do when I finish this, because I'm not going to go through all my yoga poses that I do here, because, they vary and I'm not dressed for it. And, maybe one day I'll do these, but is scanning my energy after I've done the work. Because now I may need to take layers off, as I call it, or pull cords, or bring back soul fragments. Soul fragments are the shamanic version or the energetic version of ego fragmentation, which is very common when you've had trauma, especially when you've had consistent trauma. There's going to be a whole lot of shit. I call these parts, there's all kinds of names for me. You can stick with the shamanic terms, you can stick with the psychological terms, but they really do marry each other. They really are aligned, okay? So the first thing I'll do is I'll start in the back of my head. Shadow parts like to hang out back here. I'm feeling something now. So what happens is I'll feel a reaction. Heart chakra, solar plexus, hips, knees. My body will react in some way, whether it's with anxiety, sadness, a shooting of pain, but also my hands. There's all kinds of chakras in your hands. Sometimes they feel like they're getting hot. Sometimes it just feels like a pressure or like I'm holding something heavy. So I start back here and I'll scan. Now, for you, if this is your first time, I suggest just scanning slowly to get familiar with your energetic body and these feelings. Go slowly and feel in your body and in your hands what's happening. And then, some of you, this may be your first time doing it, so your hands may naturally seem to float way out, okay? I've got some stuff. And even if it's not your first time, like I've gotten all the way in, but apparently on this issue, I'm out here. Whew. And I've already done some of this work this morning. So you scan your energy, get familiar with it. I'm feeling I need to do what I call taking layers off. I've heard it called combing your aura, cleansing your aura. It's taking layers off to me. So right now I'm not having to dig, but I feel like I'm about to dig. So sometimes I don't have to use any physical energy to remove things. Sometimes I have to really peel. There's been times I've had to pretend this is a steak and this is a hammer, and I've had to break through some of those layers of myself. That's what I'm needing to do right now. I can feel it, and I'm not hitting my body. I'm energetically doing this, and I feel it loosening things, and then I'm able to crack it open. You have to just trust. Oh God, yeah, that released a lot of shit. And so these layers are going to be all around you. You may need to take off. For doing your own back, I just imagine my hands to be swords of white light, and I just slice through because I can't reach back there. But I've had to have help, even as a healer myself. There's issues I can't do myself. My 13-year-old is a healer. He's had an awakening, and he's a healer, so he helps. But there's things I don't want him knowing about me, so I have, a healer that I go to, and we heal each other. And so I want to say this real quick. If you are a healer, I get a message from Archangel Raphael, and it's up on Medium, on Blue Moon Oracle. And it's telling healers to heal themselves and to get with other healers and heal each other, because we haven't completed our ascension. We have not completed the integration of self, and we have more shadow work to do. And that it's important that we do this work, because if we don't complete this work and get to these deep root issues, we short circuit the recovery of other people, because we can't walk people through something we have not walked through ourselves. We can't relieve someone and heal them and guide them on how to heal themselves if we haven't done that work ourselves. So if you're a healer, get with other healers, heal each other, do shadow work together, okay? Because it's so critical that we get to these root issues. They're not demons. They're not negative vibrations attached to you. You are, it's your shadow. It's you. It's being triggered because there's more work to do. We're going to be uncomfortable initially, especially when we get to these really deep places. But the most uncomfortable part of it is avoiding it, okay? And, okay, so scan the energy. I took the layers off. Now I'm going to scan and see if I've already pulled cords. Okay, there's some here in my solar plexus. So pulling cords is one way to do it. I like to go slowly because I want to feel where they're at. Helps me understand. These are coming out of my navel. This is my navel chakra. So for those of you who are new to this, you might feel like strings or pulls or tentacles. Cords is what they're called. Okay, that was kind of up in my heart chakra. I got one of these going down my left leg. Okay, so I don't do the individual cords anymore like this because I got a lot of shit. So my hands are magnets. Not only are they magnets to pull things out, but they are also glowing with healing white light energy and automatically change to the right light depending on what plexus they're on. What chakra they're on. So I'm down here. So at the same time that it's pulling out cords, which I can feel, it is also sending healing orange light. I set these intentions beforehand. Okay, these are things that I kind of forget that I did. So sorry, I'm just mentioning it now. And it's making me a little nauseous. And it hurts a little physically because I'm not just pulling one cord at a time. I am letting them just become clumps. And I'm feeling it wrapped around my spine, down my legs, sacral chakra area. And then I'm going to pull. And I feel like I've got enough. And that's got me feeling nauseous. This is up into my solar plexus. And if you do this, you can pull forever and that cord will feel like it's going forever. And then when I pulled as far as I can pull my arm length, which I'm almost there. And I'm using some physical energy if you can't tell. I snap my fingers because when I snap my fingers, that turns it to fire, that burns it up, and it's smoke because energy has to be transmuted. It doesn't just go away, okay? And then I know it's going out the window, out a vent. It's out of my house. That was super intense, so I have to process that and breathe, okay? So I'm going to do more cord pulling and more energy work on myself today, capitalizing on the power of the Scorpio full moon. This is the tower, and I want to get rid of foundational shit that is faulty because that's all that the tower energy is about, is ripping out faulty foundations that we have built upon. Okay, ripping out the foundations. These are faulty foundations, okay? Anyway, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for allowing me to share this time with you. Check out my full moon readings on YouTube at Blue Moon Oracle, and let me know what you think. Let me know how your work's going. And I've got to get these damn things out of my stomach right now. It's making me not feel ugh. All right. Love you.